Now in this video, I'm going to introduce you to the Instant App features in Oracle Intelligent Bots. Now you should be familiar with chatbots and conversational user interfaces using natural language to communicate with an automated bot. So what are instant apps and how do they fit into the concept of conversational UIs? Well, let's consider the use case of, for example, booking a holiday. You might be chatting to the bot about holiday recommendations, the number of people travelling, requesting a king-size bed, whatever. But let's think about the point in the conversation where you want to pay for the holiday, or you need to supply passport details of all the people travelling. Suddenly we're moving from a very loosely structured, free-flowing, natural conversation to one where we need very precise, structured details in a particular order and ideally error-free. We're now at the point where, quite frankly, a kind of rich mobile app data entry experience is actually going to be the best way of getting the right information in the right order and with no errors. And this is an instant app. The instant app system allows you to seamlessly transition from the natural language of the bot into an app-like experience and back to natural language with no loss of context. It's a bit like being able to transition to a mobile app but without the need to download and install anything. And this technique works particularly well with, for example, you're trying to slot fill a number of data items, some of which might require instant validation, or they might even be dependent on each other. So by using an instant app, it allows you to guarantee perfectly structured and validated data, as well as allowing you to offer the user a rich media experience should that use case require it. Okay, so that's the background. Let's take a look at an instant app in a real demo.
Okay, in this demo we're going to use a chatbot to show both the conversational UI and then moving to the instant app. In this example we're using a banking demo, so to show you the conversational side of this we can ask a question like what's my balance, we can choose the balance in savings account, and let's ask something like show the transactions on your Amex card. Now this returns a rich carousel component that we can look and browse through the various different transactions. But then we discover, well, let's look at this third transaction for the pizza, $60. Now that's something that we want to dispute because we didn't think we spent $60 on pizza. So we say I want to dispute pizza. And this will launch an instant app. It first of all shows a dialog or a link to open the instant app, so the user taps that, and within the messaging channel we now have this structured data entry because submitting or disputing a credit card transaction involves a number of specific steps. So we define why are you disputing this? Well, I've been billed too much. We submit the dispute. And we also have the opportunity to maybe upload a receipt, for example, but we don't actually have a receipt in this case, so we'll click the no receipt button. And then we have to supply information about our address. Again, this is all structured data that this particular process of disputing a credit card transaction actually requires. And once we've completed all the information required by the instant app, we save and we can exit back to the bot, and there you see the bot telling you it successfully filed the dispute. So there's an instant app in action.
So how do you build an instant app within Intelligent Bots? So within the Intelligent Bots console, select the Instant Apps button, and this opens the console for creating your instant apps. You're now ready to build your instant app, and the great news is it's pretty simple to build an instant app. There are essentially 4 building blocks which you can see on the left hand side of the screen. First is the app setting. This includes the name of the instant app and importantly the ID of the instant app, and it's this ID that's used by the bot when it wants to launch the instant app. Next is where you start building the instant app itself. On the left is where you assemble the various user interface controls, and on the right hand side is a preview of the instant app. So you can see reading from the top down an image, a label, then a field for name, then credit card number. In the middle you can see the various different user interface controls such as input fields, buttons, checkboxes, email address, and even the ability to capture a signature or display information visually in a chart. You simply drag and drop these onto the layout panel on the left, reposition them, and then set properties related to their look and feel to give a mobile optimized user experience. Next is the ability to define the events and the actions that will happen within the Instant app. So for example, what happens when you press a button or your user clicks on a checkbox or changes the value of a field. Selecting events and actions presents the various points where you can trigger an action or an event. So for example, on pressing a button, you might define that a field gets populated with a value, you navigate to a different page, or maybe you exit back to the bot. And finally, there's the parameters section. Now typically, information from the bot conversation would be passed to the Instant app, and of course the information entered in the Instant app is typically passed back to the bot, and parameters is the way you can do this. So you have a connected flow between the bot, the Instant app, and back to the bot again. And we're going to cover more of this in a later video. So you've seen the screenshots, let's take a look at this in a real live demo.
So here we are in the Intelligent Bots dashboard, and we select the Instant App button to launch the console for creating Instant apps. And here's a bunch of Instant apps we've created earlier, and also templates we can use as well. But CC Instant App is an Instant app I've started developing, so let's edit it. We can see the ID of the app, and let's look at the layout. On the left we have all the components that make up the Instant app, and on the right we can see the preview. And here are all the various other components we can add. So let's add something else to this credit card Instant app, maybe a signature. So we just select signature and drag it on to the layout. And there we can see that reflected in the preview. Now let's select that and change some of the attributes. We want to change the label to say please sign here, for example. And of course we have different properties and attributes for all of these different components. Okay, so having done that, let's add some functionality to it where we default the value of the credit card name to a parameter that's passed in. And we do that using an event in action, app sent, which will trigger when the Instant app is triggered. And we can add an action which is set element value, and the element we want to set the value of, we can just select that. There's named credit card, we drag it on here, and the value for that field when the Instant app is triggered should be the name parameter, or the value in the name parameter, and we use curly brackets to define the name of, or the value of the name parameter. And we can test this within the console. Let's define the values for two of our parameters. Press OK, and then you can see the Instant app is launched with the name for the credit card being defaulted to the parameter that we've passed in.
So there you go, how to create an Instant app which can be used for a mobile optimized app experience to gather structured data from the user and then seamlessly transition back to a natural language conversation. And keep watching if you want to see how to call the Instant app from within your Oracle chatbot. Thank you very much for watching.